Hey there, bombers and bombshells. It's Claire, and today we are going live with a shoe designer that you should know named Tori Soudan. She is a graduate of Spelman College. She studied design at Parsons, interned at Tommy Hilfiger, and got her MBA from Northeastern. I'm going to show you some of her fabulous shoes. So these boots are a Tori Soudan design. And she will be joining us shortly to talk about how she broke into fashion, tips for those who similarly want to work in fashion, and just tell us what she has next. A little bit about my look today. This dress is by Kai Collective. Thank you, Harlem Fashion Week. And my glasses are actually by a brand called Fritz by Tasha Cobbs Leonard. So I will be talking more about that in a second. I believe Tori is here. And thank you everybody for joining us today. Hi Tori.
Hello, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. So nice to see you.
So nice to see you too. So I was just telling everybody who's tuned in today a little bit about you. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I have that you're a Spelman graduate.
Right.
You studied design at Parsons.
At Parsons, right?
You interned at Tommy Hilfiger. You got your MBA at Northeastern, and you launched your shoe collection. Beautiful shoes here in 2011.
Thank you. That is all correct. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
the dork
nice
jumps
to see you.
out. The dork always jumps out sometimes. But it's so good to chat with you.
You as well, and we have some things in common. I understand you were a French major as well.
Yes, I was a French major. You were a French major?
Yeah, at Spelman, I was a French major.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Love,
Do people
love,
always
love
ask
French.
you why you majored in that? Why did you major in French?
You know, my intention was to be in Paris, and I love languages just anyway, but I did spend some time in Paris also, but it was really the fashion connection that I knew that if I wanted to have an international company, that languages would be important, which they are extremely important. But overall, I just love languages.
Me too. So
Mm-hmm.
I majored in French because all throughout junior high and high school, French was my favorite class.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because in that class we could watch videos and play games.
Right, right.
I spent every summer, I want to say 3 out of 4 summers during high school in Paris, and then
Oh, nice.
I ended up going to Harvard, majoring in French.
Mm-hmm.
No idea where that would make sense, but I ultimately eventually lived in Paris for 2 years,
Oh,
interned at Paris
wow.
Vogue, and so it all made sense. Got my first fashion internship in Paris. So
Oh, okay. That's amazing. I did a semester in Paris
you
and I
did.
did an internship there too.
Okay, where did you intern when you were in Paris?
So it was a fashion showroom in
Okay.
Paris. It was through the Boston University Paris internship program. So it was like I could attend BU, but the Paris location, and then they set you up with an internship. So it was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
Very
Paris is an
interesting.
interesting place.
Mhm.
We can talk offline about that, but
Yes, yes.
it's all good. I love to visit now.
Yeah.
I think visiting is perfect. Living there is another beast. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Did
Yeah.
you also spend time in Italy as well?
So when I studied abroad, when I studied abroad in Paris, I took a trip to Italy. So,
Hmm.
I did some venturing out,
Hmm.
went to Venice, and when you're young, you really don't have a great reason to want to go someplace. For me, it was
Right.
like, oh, I just want to see how it looks to have water in the streets.
Hmm.
So I went to Venice, didn't know where I was going to stay, just got off the train. Someone told us, my friend and I, that we could stay at a convent because they let students stay there for free and they
Hmm.
feed you. So that's what we
Oh.
did. That's important.
Yes.
So that's what we did. And a nun told me, we were just trying to figure out what we were going to do that weekend. And a nun shared with me that there was a master shoemaker who was going to be giving a demonstration.
Hmm.
So that's where I was introduced to shoes. and Italian made shoes. And I mean, I think it could not have been a better place that I discovered shoes, because in Venice, that's where like many of the high end brands are
Mhm.
made in that
Right,
region. So, what a place to discover it.
right, exactly.
Hmm.
So let's
Hmm.
dial it back a little bit because
Hmm.
I've been doing a little bit of research and I found that you used to be more a clothing designer. So you started off making prom dresses and then eventually transitioned into shoe design. So can you talk a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was blessed to be born from two creative parents.
Mm-hmm.
My mother is a certified tailor. She went to FIT. She's certified tailor from Fashion Institute of Technology. But my grandmother, and a lot of my family members, they made quilts, and they were just very creative.
Right.
So my mother taught me how to sew, which was a tremendous gift, to
Mm-hmm.
just understand, to get an understanding of construction
Mm-hmm.
at an early age. That lesson just translates to so many things. You know, it gave me an understanding of how things are made and how to put things together. So it was just a really great experience. I started sewing when I was 9. I made my prom dress at that time and just fell in love with it. You know, over the years, I just made a lot of the clothes that I wore, and people started asking me to make clothes for them. And
Mm-hmm.
someone recommended me to for this article in a local newspaper. I grew up in Stratford, Connecticut, and there was a newspaper called the Bridgeport Post, and they had a lifestyle section, and I was recommended for an article in that section. They put my phone number in there, so I was in business after that. I was
Oh,
like 14, 15 years old at that time, and so
wow.
that was like my first job. But
Mm-hmm.
my father, he was a photographer. So he taught me how to shoot photos. And I think that that was really an important part of my experience, because it gave me an understanding of composition and, the reflection of light, and gave me an appreciation with playing with colors and, all that, just sort of having an eye for composition.
Right.
So the two combined, it was just a tremendous gift. And interestingly, I learned how similar shoes are to designing clothes in terms of the pattern and
Right.
how they're sewn, the uppers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's such a blessing that you had those creatives in your family. My grandfather was a tailor
Oh,
and
wow.
my mother, she still sews to this day. So it's always interesting to see how it manifests in
Yeah.
in their children.
Yeah, it's just a really important skill. It saddens me that it's not really offered in school anymore. Young people aren't really learning that craft. I just think that creative fields are just so important. Just knowing how to design and have an artistic skill is
Right.
important.
So let's get into these beautiful shoes. I mean, stunning. And I've actually worn your designs before. I do want to put
Yes.
the photo. Hold on, we've got some technology. Okay, I'm figuring it out. No, I messed it up again. But that was when I wore your shoes at one Essence. I think it was Essence Fest, right?
Right, those were my green patchwork pumps, and
Okay.
that was paying homage to the quilt makers, the black quilt makers.
I
The
see.
patchwork
I see.
design. So
A lot
yeah,
of your designs they reflect that kind of patchwork feeling or patchwork design.
well, the inspiration comes from different places. That particular one was inspired from quilts. But the boots that you held, for instance, I just happened to be looking through a magazine, and I saw a pair of workout pants that a model was wearing, and they were like striped leggings. And
Mm-hmm.
I just noticed how, the stripes seemed to elongate her legs, and I was just attracted to the movement of the stripes in her legs. So I just put pen and paper and designed those shoes.
Yes, and
So it,
speaking
it
of
comes,
elongated legs, this
yes, yes, yes,
epic,
Zendaya.
epic, epic. I was so excited to see. First of all, this photo is stunning,
It
and
really
then
is.
Zendaya wearing Hanifa and your boots, and she looks like she's 10 feet tall. Just
She
fabulous.
It's an iconic pose. I mean, it couldn't have been done better. And Law Roach was the stylist, who is amazing.
Yes.
And I saw some commentary that he was directing her to act like a bird. So
Oh,
I can feel that in that
oh,
photo.
yeah.
But it's so nice to see, when I design the shoes, it's like this inanimate object when it comes, when I see it. But then when I
Right.
see it on a model, especially in a beautiful photo like that, it just really fills me. It was just a wonderful experience to be a part of that
Right.
photo.
So
Hmm.
how was that moment for you personally? Was that, would you say, one of the biggest moments of your design career, or one of the highlights, obviously?
Definitely, definitely. This has been, as sad as everything that's going on right now, this has really been a pivotal year for me. There are a couple of things that really I feel have shifted me forward. One was having my shoes on the Tamron Hall show
Yes.
earlier in February. That was a wonderful blessing. And then Amanda Seales wore them on the BET Awards.
Yes,
And
I heard
then, yes, yes,
there
there
they are.
she is. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. That was just incredible to see. And again, it's so nice to see how the stylist pulls it together. They're the same boots as the photo with Zendaya, but it's a totally different look.
Exactly.
That one was done, the Amanda Seales look was by Byron Yavar. And he's
Right. Yeah.
incredible as well. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, for me, it's like I've seen the boots so many times, but I've never seen them like that in that look. So it was just like a shock to me, like a surprise, wonderful
Mhm.
surprise to just have
Mhm.
that appear on the television. So it has really been a blessing this year, and I'm just really grateful for the new focus on Black designers as well,
Yes.
and just Black business owners in general, because it's been
Yes.
really difficult. Next year
Hmm.
I'll celebrate 10 years having launched my
Congrats.
line. Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. And I can recall in the beginning, as I was talking to industry professionals and people who had experience, one of the pieces of advice that was given to me is to never, ever, ever show my photo.
Never show your photo.
Correct.
Why?
Well, my name is kind of mysterious, I guess. It doesn't say that I'm African American. It doesn't give it doesn't give away that fact. But I was advised to not show my face because this person, who was very well intended, she felt that people wouldn't buy my shoes if they knew that I was a Black woman.
Wow.
So I struggled with that in the beginning. I ended up doing it anyway.
Of
And I did
course.
it anyway. I talk to my daughters a lot, just like, they're like there when I'm thinking,
Hmm.
and they've been along the journey with me. And I had a conversation with one of my daughters about that. I was just taken aback by it because my name is Tori Soudan. My brand name is Tori Soudan. I design my shoes. I don't have a creative director. This is all a part of me. And
Right.
to deny, it felt like I was denying something that was a part of me. And
Right.
so, she was probably, geez, like very young at that
Hmm.
time, maybe 10 years old. I mean, I really talk to my kids, right? So, but
Right.
she said, Mom, I think you should show your photo, because people that, really want to support you will. And
Exactly.
that was a wonderful piece of advice,
Mhm.
from a 9, 10-year-old child, when I was struggling with that. So I did show my photos. But what's good about this year is now there's full acknowledgement. There's full, seems to be, um, just an embracing of Black designers,
Yeah.
for our creative perspective, which is um, impacted by our own personal experiences, and we have something different to say that has not been highlighted, to the full
Exactly.
extent in the industry. I feel like your creative inspiration, your creative vision comes from your experiences and your culture and the way
Mhm.
you see the world. And so
Exactly.
that element of the African American designer has not been given um, enough enough of the stage, in my
I agree.
opinion.
And
Hmm.
that's why I started Fashion Bomb Daily, because I really felt as if traditional media, the media we consume every day, it just wasn't giving enough credit, shine,
Right.
spotlight to designers of color, and so that's why I created it. And then I've loved this year just seeing how it's taken form and this whole kind of movement of
Hmm.
acknowledgement. And I just pray that it continues.
That it
Um,
continues. Hmm.
and
And
another,
thank you. I really, I mean, thank you for having a platform for Black designers, and just being that beacon of light that has been putting us in the spotlight. You've been wearing us and talking about us and really pushing us out there. And that is just, I mean, I'm very, very grateful to you for the
yeah,
work that you've done, because it's not something that we can do alone. You know, it's really, it's been for me, you know, the Tamron Halls, the Byron Yavars, the Law Roaches, the people like that that say, no, I want to choose your brand. You know, that's just a special moment. I just don't take it for granted. It's very, very impactful.
indeed. And those are all
Hmm.
people. Love Tamron, love Brian, love Law. They're all really great people. And it's
Hmm.
also interesting the advice that was the poor advice that was given to you, because
Yeah.
for a long time I hid. I was not the face of
Mm.
my brand, but I actually
Mm.
found that it enhanced the brand once
Right.
I became the face of it, because people
Yeah.
need to be able to relate to you.
Isn't that interesting? I find
Yeah.
that as well. Now, did
Yeah.
you hide because you were Black as well?
No, I hid because
Okay.
I'm shy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm shy too, so that I had to get used to that. So I can
I'm just
understand that. Yeah.
it's people don't ever think that I am shy, but I'm like, and I've had to work on that and just come out from behind the
Yep.
computer. And
Same here. You know, when I started designing shoes, I naively thought, oh, I can just put the shoes out there and just like present the shoes. But people
mhm,
wanted to know, like, you know, the inspiration, and they wanted to get to know, you know, who was behind the shoes. And so, you know, I started coming around,
yeah,
and I said, you know, I just need to get over whatever it was that I was feeling and just kind of step out there. And so that's how it's been.
wonderful. So
Hmm.
let's talk about a few of the designs. I know that we've been talking a lot about the striped boots because
Hmm.
they're very popular, but there's another pair of boots behind you. They're kind of black with gold on them. So can you tell us
Oh,
that design and the inspiration?
yeah. I'm gonna try to grab them without them falling, or maybe I should just
Okay.
move. Maybe I'll just move my camera because I'm kind of bad at that. So those are my Adia boots. They're
Okay.
actually named after my daughter,
Mm,
who inspired me to show that I was, you know, show who I am.
yes.
And that inspiration didn't come from an object. That came from, I at the time I had submitted my designs to my factory, and I just had this burning idea that just came to me. And I literally just drew it out and begged them to include it in the
Mhm.
I was getting samples at the time, and they did. So sometimes things just kind of, designs just kind of flow. Sometimes I get them from looking at things, like for instance that red boot.
Yes.
That's my Kelsey booty. That's actually the second shoe that I've ever designed,
Oh,
way
wow.
back in 2010.
Mm.
Um, and I was inspired by the Sydney Opera House. You know, the ridges, the
Yeah.
layers in the Sydney Opera House.
Mm.
I was really thinking about photography when I designed that boot,
Mm.
because I was curious to know how the light would reflect on it, you know, with the break and the layers, and what effect that would have on the boot from different angles.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with the way that one came out. I have a closed toe version, excuse me, and an open toe version as well. But that boot was really difficult to produce.
Okay.
It took, sometimes designs take a long time to for me to
Right.
actually produce, because some of them are really complicated. So it takes like a lot of iterations to get it right. And, you know, you just have to find the right technique sometimes to execute um, of
Right.
my vision. So that one took a little while.
So
Hmm.
who we've seen Amanda Seales has worn your boots, Zendaya, Tamron Hall, Bazoma St. John. But
Yes.
who would you say is the Tori Soudan woman? Like, who are you designing for?
Wow, that's an incredible question. First of all, Bosom St. John is an incredible supporter of
She's
Black
awesome.
designers and just Black women. I absolutely love her, and she's so stylish and so fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say that. But in terms of who I design for, that is an interesting question because I feel like I finally crystallized it
Okay.
this like recently. And so, before I used to just design and think of it more like an artist, like a painter. A painter has a canvas, a blank canvas, and he or she is just designing a beautiful picture. And
Mm-hmm.
so I still kind of think of it like that in terms of I don't design and say, oh, I want to fit this type of product or I want to design this to fulfill this need. I just don't think like that. I separate the creativity from the business part of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized recently that I am focusing on designing editorial shoes
Hmm.
for everyday women, for
Ah,
for the woman.
I
Yeah.
love that.
So I think of how like I think of the style in terms of how it can be featured in an editorial photo. What it can add to a look in a beautiful layout
Mm-hmm.
um, in an editorial photo. You know,
Okay.
and
Walking
and
art.
right, walking art, exactly, exactly. So I don't think about, oh, these shoes need to go with like a blue dress, or
Right.
these shoes need to fit into any kind of box. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally as if you were to buy a painting for your home. Most people, when they buy paintings, they don't say, oh, I like this Charles Bibbs painting, but it doesn't go with the paint on my wall. Like, people don't think like that. They buy the Charles Bibbs painting because they like the Charles Bibbs painting, and then they figure it out. And it's the
Right.
painting that they connect with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my approach, because otherwise I feel very limited. I feel
Yeah.
very boxed in. And I struggled with that for a while because I do have an MBA degree also in finance. And so there's some textbook things that people tell you or that you learn about running a business and how it needs to check off all these boxes and everything. And then there's the creative side of me that I just kind of struggled with how to work the two together
Mm-hmm.
for a while. But I realize I need to shut one off. When I'm in one zone, I shut the other one off. When I'm in design mode, I'm not thinking about nuts and bolts of the business part of
Yeah.
it because
It's
it's
sometimes hard.
restricting.
Yeah, it's hard to strike that balance between art and commerce a lot of times.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it really
what I
is.
love about those boots is that the striped boots is that, as we saw with Zendaya and also Amanda Seales, is that they're very funky and flavorful and artful, but they can be worn in so many different ways. They're also extremely versatile as
Yeah.
well, you know.
Hmm.
So
Thank
that's
you.
it's beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
for any of our followers who might be interested in launching their own line, whether of shoes or just a fashion line in general, what advice would you give to them?
I would say that first of all, becoming a designer is not like there's no real textbook path that, you complete step A, you get to step B and so forth, and then you become a designer. It's kind of one of those things where you have to discover your own voice, your own path within the
Mm-hmm,
industry. And
mm-hmm,
and that's really how I've done it. Going to Italy for me and discovering shoemaking in Italy. First of all, I fell in love with Italian made shoes, and then later on, I made connections in that same region. So this like things just kind of my path. I feel like my path was already destined,
yeah,
by God, and I was just following it. And it was
mm-hmm,
confirmation for me because I had gone to Venice And then I went back and ended up finding a factory in Venice, one of the best factories in the world, you know? And so they also make Chanel, Manolo Blahnik, and some other brands, Dior. And it was just like, and it's very hard to get into a factory. So, you know, when that happened, I was just open to um, trying different things. I would give someone the advice of being open to feel for your own path. You know, your path may take you to design skirts or scarves or something else. You know, there may be something in your path that may lead you down that road.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I would say is to do a lot of networking and research before you actually get started.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started my research and development in 2009. And so between 2009 and 2011, I just went back and forth to Italy a lot. I took a shoemaking class. I wanted to understand everything there was about shoes. I mean, you
Right.
really need to do that level of research for whatever product it is that you want to launch.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I wanted to know what's inside of the shoes. What is the difference between a luxury shoe, a well-made shoe, and just your average shoe? And what I found was just so surprising to me. There were so many things that I never knew about those differences. But I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to understand because when you go to manufacturing, you need to know that your product is what you want it to be.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of ways that you could uh, make the wrong decision in launching your brand. So you really have to arm yourself with so much information, as much as you can.
What is the difference in terms of construction between a poorly made shoe and a well-made shoe? Maybe just
Yeah,
some quick tips
yeah.
or
Well,
thoughts.
there's several things. First of all, the difference between a well-fitting shoe and an uncomfortable shoe, one of the biggest things is
Mm-hmm.
what's called a last, which is the
Mm-hmm.
mold that the shoes are made around. The shape of that last is so important.
Mm-hmm.
If the last is off, like if, you know, if the pitch is off on the high heel shoe, and that means if you're leaning forward, you have high heels on and you feel like you're going to tip forward, that's
Yes.
because the last is wrong. You know, the last is not appropriate for that particular heel. And
Mm-hmm.
so it can just damage the whole fit of the shoes. So, one, you want to have a good last. And then also, the materials that the shoes are made out of are very, very important. One of the challenges with the US consumer is that as a designer, I'm not obligated to disclose what material my shoes are made out of
Mm-hmm.
in the US,
Oh.
which I think is not a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because what that does is it allows brands to make shoes out of plastic that looks so much like leather,
Mm-hmm.
but plastic is going to feel different. It's not going to give, it's not going to mold to your feet. So the materials that the shoes are made out of are important, and also the shape of the last are some important things. And there's some construction, you know, factors. um, you want a factory that knows, like for me, one thing that I love about my factory is I send them a drawing and they understand the technical part of shoes to the point where if I put a seam down the side of the upper, they know where that seam should not be placed. If it's placed at a certain point, it could cause stress to the foot. You know, they
Yeah.
know things like that. Like this
Mm-hmm.
seam is supposed to be this many millimeters from this point, and all these technical measurements that they really understand. So you really want to have a good factory that's really knowledgeable about those
Yeah.
technical things.
What I love about your shoes is one, obviously the quality, and two, they're comfortable. For me,
Oh,
like
thank you.
comfort is so important. My
Hmm.
favorite refrain is my feet hurt, you know, so
Right.
to have a pair of shoes where you're not complaining all day is
Thank you.
wonderful. And someone asked where they can buy the black and gold boots. They can buy them on your website at torisoudan.com, correct?
Right. Yes, correct.
And then you can buy the striped boots at torisoudan.com or on fashionbombdailyshop.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that. So what's next for you? I've heard some rumblings, so you just go ahead and tell me what you have
what
up
rumblings?
Just that you might be expanding into other sorts of accessories.
Oh yeah. I'm really looking to grow, my brand, and I'm just super excited about having found sort of my voice, like I mentioned, and really deepening that, within other product categories. So I have some handbags coming out that I'm excited about. I have some that are out now, like for instance, I have this Madison clutch.
I love that.
Thank you. And I have a crossbody bag and some other handbags. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm looking forward to some new styles that will be coming out this fall. I really feel like the styles coming out this fall are just so reflective of where I am today and where I am creatively. And I'm just so excited to release them. So,
Okay,
yeah.
wonderful. All right, so I'm going to see if there are any more questions here before I let you go. And where can people follow you? Where can they purchase? You can just give them the rundown while I scroll.
Oh, I'm at Tori Soudan on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, I'm at torisoudan.com online. And yeah,
We
but
just hear. Go ahead.
I would just encourage anyone who's, thinking about a creative field and thinking about, whether or not they want to do something on their own to really give it a try, because I'm really glad that I did.
Mm-hmm.
I put it off for a number of years and came back to it. And I'm really glad that I actually went forward and pursued it. Because, it was challenging trying to just have the confidence to just do it. So I
Yeah,
just tell people, just own your own gifts and just step out there. Your gifts are to be shared with the world. And it's really a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful experience to have.
I agree. And something that you said that really resonated with me was about God placing you in a certain place and a certain time. And you just never know how things will make sense one
Right.
day, you
That's
know?
true. That's
But
really true.
the French thing for me, I didn't get it. All my friends were like, okay, you can be a high school French teacher once you
Right.
graduate. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, Paris is what gave me my start in fashion. That's where Fashion Bomb was really born. It was because of Paris and having the opportunity to actually have an experience at a French fashion magazine. So
Right.
everything made sense.
It all makes sense in the end.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing because I share that. French brought me to Paris, which brought me to Italy, which is where I was introduced to shoes.
right.
And there have also been moments where I've tried to get away from fashion and maybe I didn't have the confidence that I could do it. Like after I graduated from high school and went to Spelman, I was just kind of like, I don't think I was thinking that I couldn't be successful at it. So I was looking for something else.
Right.
But then my roommate in college, Ina, she wanted to compete for the Miss Maroon and White pageant at Morehouse. And she
Okay.
just shared with me that she needed a dress. And I had put all that behind me, making gowns for people. But when
Mhm.
she said she needed a dress, I said, I'll make you a dress. I was just doing it, for her because she needed a dress. But that moment for me was just a confirmation when I saw her walking across the stage, just seeing my design on the stage, it just was confirmation that I can do this. And so it was one of those moments that brought me back to fashion. That's the same feeling I get every time I see my shoes on, in a magazine or on Tamron Hall or anything. It's just like, okay, I'm moving in the right direction. It's like it's that energy that I
It
get.
encourages you to keep
Encouragement.
going. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy, but moments like that, it's like, oh, okay, it's all
I'm on
going
the
somewhere.
right path. Yes. Okay, I have two more questions for you. One,
Mhm.
tips for people who are afraid to step out on faith, and they're afraid about maybe they don't know what can sustain them in the meantime, in between time when things aren't quite at their peak. So what
Right.
advice would you give to them?
Well, for the second question, I would say to kind of, when you start a new venture, don't quit your day job. Kind of like ease into it, get used to it, get your feet wet, do the research, and build
Mm-hmm.
it on the side first. And the
Gotcha.
other thing is, if you're afraid of doing something, I mean, that's precisely when you should do it. Because if you're standing in the same place, you're not going to be afraid, but you know that you're moving in a positive direction. If you are afraid, you know that you're challenging yourself. If you are afraid, I
Yeah.
think it was TD Jakes that said, if you're doing something that you can do alone, then your dreams aren't that big enough. you
Wow.
know that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing. If you can handle it, oh, it's easy, I got this, then think bigger. Think about those things that keep you up at night, that really challenge you and allow you to grow. Because I was very afraid in the beginning. When I placed my first order, I could not sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I could not sleep. I was very, very afraid. But it gets easier. It gets
Yes.
easier. Now I place my order and it's like, okay, I did that. Let me move on. So you find yourself, you feel the growth also. You find yourself looking back at things that you were so afraid of before, and now you have that. So now you can work on other goals and you can keep rising.
Okay. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Last question. What does Fashion Bomb Daily mean to you?
Oh, I love Fashion Bomb Daily. Fashion Bomb Daily is just the ultimate fashion destination where, I mean, you can just get your pulse at anything, any trends, anything going on in fashion. I just love Fashion Bomb Daily.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your support. Thank you for trusting our shop with stocking the style. And everybody, now that you know the woman behind the brand, get yourself a pair. It's fall.
Yes.
So it's time. And somebody was asking about the black and gold boots. Are they sold out right now, or are you restocking those?
I have different colors that are
Okay.
coming in. Yeah,
Okay.
I did limited colors. However, if anyone's interested in the limited colors, sign up for notifications for when they come in, because we will have additional ones. But the people that ordered them, we just want to make sure that they don't need to exchange or anything before we put the rest of them out there.
I see.
So
So
we
if
have some
someone's
special colors.
interested, they should sign up for updates and just send you an email and see if they can get in on the limited list.
Right, right.
All right. Well, thank you again. Okay, what's the largest size shoe? One more question. What's the
Oh,
largest?
you know what? That's a great question, because my largest right now is 43.5, and I'm trying to move that needle to 44, which is the equivalent of a 12. So right now I'm about 11 and a half. And that is so important. I understand your question. Just know that I hear you. I'm not sure who said that, but it is
Marquita.
something. Marquita, thank you for your question, because that is something that I think across the board in the shoe industry needs to be adjusted. There needs to be sizes for all women, and I'm really trying to make that change.
All right. Well, thank you again for your time and have a wonderful night. Guys, this will be posted on our IGTV, also on our YouTube, on our website, in case you want to rewind and watch it again. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Bonsoir.
too. Bonsoir.
Au
Au
revoir.
revoir.
Well, all right, bombers and bombshells. Again, that was Tori Soudan, a shoe designer you should definitely know. You can buy these boots as seen on Zendaya and Amanda Seals on fashionbombdailyshop.com. You can shop other sizes and styles at torisoudan.com. And for those who are interested in my glasses, these are Fritz Eyewear by Tasha Cobbs Leonard, and I will be doing a feature on them a little bit later today. But thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.